first primary component of Azure is resource group. Okay, there will be a resource group. What is this resource group? So the resource group is like a container which will have everything. All the resources will be created inside the resource group. It's just like a folder where you will have all the files. In the same manner, resource group is like a container where it will have everything. Virtual machines you will have, and then VNets, everything you will have inside the resource group. So now here inside the RG. So, but one thing that you need to understand here is RG. RG we can create in a region. So that is East US. That doesn't mean that we have to create all the resources in the East US. So it is just a specific region which we have selected to create the resources. But when you come to the uh, resource group, that is which is in East US. Okay, so here what we can do, we can create a virtual network. VNet we can create. There will be a VNet where we can create our servers. So VNet means in the other way, what we can call it as in AWS perspective, it is called as VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. In uh, Azure, it is called as a VNet. It is a boundary. It is a network boundary in which you can create our resources. Okay. So this VNet will have a subnet. Okay. Inside the VNet, we will have the subnet, and inside the subnet, what you will have. Okay. Inside the subnet, there will be, for example, there will be an available, the subnet will be created inside the availability zone. So here, subnet will be there. Okay. So inside the subnet, again, what you are having here is you will be having the resources servers that we are going to create. So here, the first point, what you need to understand is, for example, when you are having a physical environment, for example, there is a region. Inside the region, you are having the availability zone. Inside the region, you are having the availability zone. Inside the availability zone, what you are having, you will be having the data centers. Okay, there will be a data center. Inside the data center, you will have the rack. Okay, physical server rack will be there. In the physical server rack, you will have the physical server. Inside the physical server, what will happen here is there will be servers, virtual machines, which are going to be created. So we don't know. We have the access up to the availability zone. Okay, we have the access up to availability zone. After availability zone, we won't have any access for the data center and as well as for the uh, what I can say for the data center racks and physical server, we don't have any access. So here, this is my region. Inside the region, you will have the zones, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Inside the zones, you will have the physical server. Inside the physical server, inside the availability zones, you will have the data center. I will simply call it as DC. So inside the data center, you will have the rack, and inside the racks, you will have the physical server. So this is how the architecture will be looking like. So the availability zone, we don't have the access towards the data center, rack, and physical server. So we will just create the virtual systems. So for example, here, now what will happen here, there will be a, for example, we are going to a server that belongs to Zomato. Okay. And there is a server which belongs to Swiggy, for example. And there will be a server which belongs to Uber Eats. Okay. Is there any food, platform is there? So Swiggy, Zomato, Swiggy. Suddenly I'm not getting. Okay, let me go with EatSure. EatSure is there. So these are all the servers that belongs to the different companies. Now, see, these are the rivalry companies. All these companies are the rivalry companies. Okay. So whenever these are all the rivalry companies, we don't know. Unfortunately, what happened here is all the companies has sit together in a single server. Okay. These are all the virtual machines. These are all the virtual servers, but they sit together in a single physical server, which means that so we cannot say there will be the connectivity between the servers. Anything can happen. Data breach can happen. So if they are sitting in a single physical server, there might be a chance that the data breaching can happen. So the data can be transferred from one server to the other server. We cannot say that. Okay. So now here what we have to do. Okay. So to explain you in a simple manner, for example, uh, you plan for a trip. Okay. You plan for a trip. In your trip, there are four people are there. Okay. So among the four people, one people is from Andhra. So he knows only about Telugu. Okay. He knows only Telugu. And there is one more person who knows about Odia. Okay. And then there is one more person who knows Hindi. And there is one more person who is more into Tamil or Malayalam. Okay. So now here, if you see, there are four persons. Physically, if you see, they don't have any physical barrier. So all are sitting in a single car. Okay, and they are traveling. But what is making the difference here is this person only knows Telugu, the other person only knows Odia, the other person only knows Hindi, the other person only knows Malayalam. They don't know the common language and common language English. Okay, they don't know the English language, and as well as they don't know the other languages of the other people. So as they doesn't know about any another languages. Now, what happened? Even though there is no barrier, no physical barrier in the sense they are traveling in a single car itself. But logically, if you see, they cannot communicate among themselves. One person will not communicate with another person because of lack of knowledge on the particular language. So because of which, what I can do here is I can go ahead into the concept of here also, even though all the servers, whatever the Zomato server, Swiggy server, Uber Eats and each all the servers belongs to a single physical server, we are going to create a logical barrier. So that logical isolation barrier is called as your virtual network. So the servers which are created in virtual network, in one virtual network, will not be able to communicate with the servers in the another virtual network. So here you will be having another virtual network between these two servers. So they won't be able to communicate, even though they are created on a single physical server because of the isolation between by default two virtual networks. Okay, two virtual networks will not be able to communicate with each other, not the virtual servers. They belongs to the two different virtual networks. So that's why they will not be able to communicate with each other so that the data will not be exposed. Data breaching will not happen. So this is the concept of your, what I can say, this is the concept of your virtual networks. Okay. So if you see that the first one is in the Azure, we will have the resource group. In Azure, we will have resource group. Resource group is a resource group is a container. It is a container that contains multiple resources. Whatever the resources that you want, all the resources will be available inside the resource group. So resource group can be created in a particular region. I will simply make it as RG. RG can be created in a particular region. That doesn't mean that that all the resources should be created in the same region. Okay, in the same region. See, so you went for you want to. I mean, you got a job and you went to Bangalore. Okay, Bangalore is a container. Okay, it's a city. Just assume that it's like a resource group container. So in Bangalore, you won't have only the Kannada speaking people. There will be people who are coming from the uh, multiple states. There are the people who are coming from the north states who can speak only Hindi. There are the people who are coming from Kerala who can speak Malayalam. There are the people who coming from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu who can speak Telugu and Tamil only. So all the people, so Bangalore means it's a city of what I can say IT, where you can see multiple people who are coming across the India and across the. I mean, I cannot say only in India. They will be coming from across the globe also. So that's why it's a container where it can have it, even though it is in the Canada location, but it doesn't mean that only the Canada people will be there. There will be the people across the world. In the same manner, resource group is created in a particular region. That doesn't mean that only, for example, if I want to create a VNet, so the VNet can be created in West US also. Okay, you can create the VNet in the West US also, and as well as you can create the VNet in the Central India also. In the same resource group, you can create the VNet in the Central India also. Okay, it is not a logical networking kind of thing. It's a container, so only referring to that particular resources. And what is the main benefit of the resource group is that all the resources of that particular organization, if you create a resource group, for example, I got a Java project. So for this Java project, what I can do, I can create a resource group called as Java RG. I got a Python project. So for Python project, I will create like Python RG. Okay, Python RG. So inside the Java RG, what I can do, I can create multiple virtual networks. Okay, here I will create a VNet. Here I am going to create a VNet, and this VNet will refer to the front end. All the front end servers will be created in one VNet. And the backend Java, whatever the Java servers are, the backend servers are created in another VNet called as backend VNet. And then I will create my databases inside the database VNet. Okay, database virtual network VNet, database VNet. So this belongs to, so all these VNets are belonging to the Java RG only, Java Resource Group only. So what will happen here whenever we want to, I mean, even though they are created in a single RG, here you can create the front end in East US. Okay, here you can create the back end in West US, and you can put the database in the Central India. Just I am telling you, Central India, like this. So all the VNets can be able to communicate. We have to establish the communication. So now the point is by default, the VNets which are created will not be able to communicate among themselves. So we have to establish the communication. How we have to establish the communication, I will let you know. So like that, what we are going to do here, we are going to create the multiple resource group. Under the resource group, you will have the virtual networks. Under the virtual networks, you can create the virtual missions and you can establish what I can say VNet to VNet peering, and you can establish the communication also. Now, what is meant by a VNet? VNet is a logical infrastructure, logical network created inside the resource group that will isolate the resources of one VNet with the another VNet. Okay, VNet is a logical network that will isolate the resource communication with another VNet resource. I mean, so it's just a logical network that's isolate the resource communication with another VNet resources. Okay, this is the main point. So one the resources in one VNet will not be able to communicate with the resources in the another VNet. So inside the VNet again you will have the subnets and then we will be having the servers. So let us create them in practical. You got the point? Any questions here?
Yes, so just confirming the understanding,
Mhm.
the resource group is a can have
Hmm.
multiple regions as well, right? So it could have resources from
It
multiple
will
regions.
be it will be created in a single region. It can have the resources in across the regions. I cannot say you can create only in a single region. You can create in any region. The resources can be
And
created in any region.
it can be
Hmm.
from multiple regions, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Coming to VNet, it's a regional resource, right? So it has
Yes,
to be
yes,
within a specific region, like you mentioned.
yes.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Hmm. Now let us go with the creating the resources. Portal.azure.com resource group. I want to create a resource group. So subscription is Dev subscription. So here you can do one thing. So go to the cost and billing, cost management and billing management. Okay. So if you want to create the subscription, here you can see there will be an option to create. Or else directly you can go with the subscription also. Azure subscriptions. So already I have created. You can add another subscription. If you want, you can go with the billing account is this. Select the billing profile. I'll go with the billing profile one. Okay, Microsoft Azure plan. And what is the billing profile to which? Both are the same. Okay. Next. And then here you have to provide the name for the subscription. You can provide like prod, next, next, and the you can give the budget detail. Right now, I don't want to provide it. Next, next, next. And you can create it. So if you click on create, it will be created. Okay. So I don't want to create it right now, but I'm just showing you how to create a subscription over here. So I'll go back to the resource group and then create. So I want to create a resource group under the dev subscription and the RG name is, I will go with the Azure B1 hyphen RG. This is the resource group which I am going to create. Okay. Where we are creating East US we are creating. Okay. Next, next and create. So now the resource group got created. So once the resource group is created, then what we are going to do for this, it will take a few seconds. You'll get immediately. Sometimes you will get immediately. Sometimes it is going to take time. Okay, no problem. It will come. So I'll go back to my virtual networks. So from here also you can select VNets. Okay, from here also you can select the VNet. Otherwise, what you can do for this, you can go with the menu, and in the navigation pane you can see the virtual networks are there. So we want to create a virtual network. Create virtual network, and where you want to create, I want to create in the Azure B1 RG. Okay, and then or else let me go back to, okay, no problem. And here the virtual network name is Azure B1 VNet. This is the network name. And next, next. And here we are going to, if you want to change the IP addresses and allocate the specific address range, you can specify that. I'm going to specify like 172.25.0.0/16, or else I will go with 10.1.0.0/16. I'll select the slash value over here, /16. Okay, so the default range will be, it's not like here you can give anything, any name. For example, I will go with Azure B1 hyphen demo, or else B1 subnet 1. And this is the IP range 10.1.1.0/24. This is the subnet range. Okay, save the subnet. Next, and here you don't need to provide any tags. Next, next, review and create. Okay. the review is successful and I want to create the resource over here. So the VNet is created. So this is how we can create the VNet. So what we have done, we created the network. Here you don't find the routing tables just like in the, what I can say, just like in the AWS, we won't have the routing tables. We won't have any another specific we'll see what we can do. We will see in slowly. So right now, this is the basic configuration of your virtual. Okay. So now let me create the VM virtual missions and then create a virtual mission. So where you want to create this virtual mission, I want to create that in the Azure B1 RG and the virtual mission name is Linux VM1. Okay, VM1. And it is in East US only. So we created the VNet in the East US. So I will select East US itself. And the availability zone, here you can select the availability zone. Okay, actually there is something called as this availability options are there, no? So regarding that availability option, we have a separate uh, document is there. You can check out through this document. Okay, so here you can see what is that meaning of the availability zone concept means. Here you can see, yeah, when you are deploying the cloud infrastructure in Microsoft Azure, one of the most important foundational concept is the virtual network. Okay, commonly called as VNet. VNet is essentially your own private network inside the Azure, very similar to the network you create in the physical data center, but fully managed and hosted in the cloud. It gives a complete control over your resources, communicate with each other. So, yeah. IP ranges we have given powerful feature. I think somewhere I have given this concept of selecting the uh, subscription here. When we are creating the virtual mission, how you can select the subscription. Mm, okay, no problem. Here, no infrastructure dependency means, okay, no infrastructure dependency means it's a simple concept of not selecting any sort of availability zones. And then here, the servers can be created in a single availability zone, because of which what I can say, there is likeliness to delete the servers. If there is any problem in the availability zone, the servers may get deleted. Okay. And the availability zone means selecting the availability zone means physically separated your resources in the region. You can create one of the server in one availability zone, and you can create another same server, clone the server in another availability zone, so that you can have the high availability. We'll discuss about all these concepts in the upcoming session. And the next one is availability zone one. You can select zone one. And here security type is standard, basic level of security. As of now, you can view like this. And the images is Ubuntu 2404. You can select any image. I'm selecting the Ubuntu server. And if you come down here, I will select the B1S. So it is saying that size is not available in zone 1. So select zone 3. So I will go and select the zone 3. If the size is not available, sometimes the sizes will not be available in the availability zones. So you have to select as per the requirement. So here I need to select B2. It is coming B2. Okay, that's fine. B2S. Okay, actually it has to show me B1S. Why it is not showing it all? B1S selected. So this is what my requirement. 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM is more than enough. So I will select the B1S. And then here authentication is password authentication. Azure admin. This is the username. And here you can provide the password. This is the password. And here you can select the inbound rules. So these are the inbound configuration. Inbound means the traffic coming into the server. Outbound means the traffic going outside of the server. So any which ways, what is the most problematic traffic means the traffic which is entering into the server is most problematic traffic. So I need to be very, very careful whenever I am selecting this inbound rules. Okay. Next, Here we are going to select the disk. Okay, so don't select the premium. It is little bit costly. You can go with the standard local redundant storage. That's more than enough. So see there, monthly cost estimation is $2.40 if you select the standard. If you select the premium SSD, no, so it will cost you $5.28 per month. So I don't want the premium. So just it's a demo environment. I can go with the 2.40 standard version is more than enough for me. So delete the storage with VM. Whenever I delete the virtual machine, automatically the storage should be deleted. Next. And here you can see Azure B1 VNet is selected and Azure B1 Subnet 1 is selected and the Linux VM1 IP. So it is going to assign a public IP and the normal security group we are going to configure. Delete the public IP and NIC when VM is deleted. Once the VM is deleted, I don't want the public IP to be there. So I want it to be deleted. Next, next. So you can disable the boot diagnostics. Next, next, and review and create. So here you can see create. So that's it. We have created a resource. We have created a virtual machine in the VNet one. So if you see, we have a VNet one, which is created in East US, and the VNet one is Azure B1 hyphen VNet. So this is the network which we have created with the CIDR block as with the CIDR block 10.1.0.0/16. This is the CIDR block of that particular VNet. This is what we have created now. Once it is created, then inside that VNet, what we are going to do, we are going to create the subnet. So this is the Azure B1 subnet. And inside that, we created the server, Azure B1 subnet 10.1.10.1.1.0/24. This is the B1 subnet. And inside that, what we are doing, we are creating a server. We are creating a server, and the server will have the IP address like 10.1.1.4. Okay. So let the server will be coming. Okay. So it will be created and it will be available for us. So here you can see, go to the resource. We have our server created. Now this is the public IP address of the server. So copy the public IP. I didn't give any private, I didn't give any key authentication. It's a password authentication. When you provide the public IP, it will ask you for the username. So the username is Azure admin and the password is whatever the password that we have given when creating the VM, we have to provide that. So that's it. We just logged into our virtual machine. Okay. Sudo su hyphen and if config. I think this net tools are not there. If config, net tools are not there. So I will go with apt install net hyphen tools. Okay. When we install that, here you can see the IP address of the server. It will show you the private IP. So 10.1.1.4. Okay. So this is the IP address of your server. Okay, good. So here we have a VP, we have a VNet. Inside that we are having the subnets. Inside that we are having the virtual machine. So this is my Linux VM1. Okay, this is how you can create the resource. Is it clear? How we have created the virtual machine? Is it clear?
Yes.
Now we are going to create another VNet in the West US. I'm going to create another VNet in the West US. So here, this is the VNet which we are creating West US, Azure B1 demo 1 or else demo 2 VNet, Azure B1 demo 2 VNet with the CIDR 10.2.0.0/16. This is the VNet which we are creating. And then here what I can do, I can create another subnet and then I will create a virtual machine. Okay. So here what I can do, Azure demo 2 hyphen subnet 1 with the CIDR 10.2.1.0/24. And here we are going to create a Windows virtual machine. Windows VM1, and I think it will get 10.2.1.4. This is the IP address of Windows VM1. So let's create the second virtual network also. So for that, again, I will go back to the virtual networks, create virtual network in Azure B1 RG. Virtual network name is Azure B1 demo 2. So this is the VNet name. So I want to create that in the West US. Here you can say West US 2 is there. So this is not what I want. If you come down here, you can see West US. So this is the region in which I want to create that particular virtual network. Next, next, and the CIDR block will be 10.2.0.0/16. And here I will simply change it to 10.2.1.0/24. Save it. Next, next. Or else here one thing that I want to give here is I will specify the name. So the name of the subnet is Azure Azure B1 hyphen demo hyphen 2 hyphen subnet 1. Okay, save it. Review and create and create it. So done. So the second VNet is also created in another region. So even though the resource here it is proved, right? What it is proved, even though the resource group is created in one region, that doesn't mean that we have to create all the resources in the same region. You can create the resources in the multiple regions also, right? So here you can see we have the Azure B1 demo 2, which got created in West US, and this is what. And here what I can do, I can go with the virtual machine creation, VM creation. Already VM1 is running. I'm going to create one more virtual machine. So this is my in which resource group in Azure B1 RG I want to create it. And here I will select West US, West US, and the virtual machine name is Windows VM1. And here you can select, sometimes you will get like this. So previously got the availability zone. In some regions, you won't see the availability zone option. So you can select the no infrastructure dependency. And here the security type is standard, and the image or else operating system which I want to create here is Windows Server 2025 data center. Okay. And then the one CPU, 1 GB RAM is not sufficient. Standard B1S is not sufficient. So I will go with standard B2S, 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM. Right. And then what I can do here is I will go with the username as same Azure admin, and the password. Provide the password which is of minimum 12 characters. So on the confirm password, done. So here, when we are deploying the Linux environment, we have to select the inbound rules as SSH. When we are selecting the Windows environment, we cannot access that through PuTTY. Windows servers cannot be accessed through PuTTY. So for accessing the Windows servers, we are having a separate protocol called as RDP. remote desktop protocol through which we can be able to access the Windows servers. So RDP protocol. Next, and the disk will be, so here you are going to get the standard disk, and it's a minimum size. 127 GB is minimum size. So like in AWS, you are not going to get 8 GB, 30 GB. That kind of disk sizes will not be available. Minimum is 128, 127 GB for Windows, 30 GB for Ubuntu. Okay, next. And in which network? See, whenever we select the STUS, automatically selected the Azure V1 demo subnet to. And okay, this is all fine. Next, next. Boot diagnostics is not required. It is chargeable. Next, next, next. Review and create. Done. So we have our Windows server created. Once we got that Windows server creation done, then what we are going to do here is, hmm, let me log on to this Windows server. I will be logging on to this Windows server. Now, if you see here, both the servers will not be able to communicate with each other privately, even though they belongs to the single resource group, but they are in the different networks, so they will not communicate privately. So with the private IP, they will not communicate. So public IP, it is possible. Why? Because so reaching on to the internet and coming back to the server means it is possible. So the server will reach out to the internet. From there, it will be coming back to the server means it is possible, but that is not my requirement. My requirement is that internal communication should happen. So, for example, I have a front-end server over here, or else let me take this is a Bastion host. From this server, I want to jump onto the Linux virtual machines. I want to access it. So then what I have to do, I don't want to go on to the public network. So through private network only, I need to communicate. Within the organization, I want to communicate between the servers through the private network. To establish this communication, what I have to do here is, I need to go with the concept of VNet peering. Here we are going to do the VNet peering. How we are going to do the VNet peering? So first of all, let us see. Still the deployment is in process. I'll go to virtual networks. So inside the virtual networks, you will be having the VNets. VNet peering options will be there. So here you can see VNets are there now. So here you can see VNet 1. Okay. So if you see here, if you come down, there is peering option is there. Okay. We have to create the peering. We will create it. But as of now, what about the resource? The resource got created. Okay. Once the resource got created, let me copy the public IP. Remote desktop connection will be there. Select the remote desktop and provide the IP address over here and connect it. It will ask you for the username. Azure admin is the username and the password is whatever the password that we have specified at the time of creating the VM, you have to provide the password. Once you provided this password, now we are able to access the server. Okay, so here you have the Windows server and here you are having the Linux machine. So now if you see ping 10.2.1.4. So this is the server IP of your Windows server. So the pinging is not happen through the private IP. And in the same manner, when I try to communicate with the server, when I try to communicate with the server from my VNet 2 to VNet 1. So from the Windows server to the Linux server, where is Windows server available? Windows server is available in VNet 2 and Linux server is available in VNet 1. Okay, if I want to establish the communication between both the servers, the communication will not happen. So if you see here, it's taking some time. Done. IP config, IP address is 10.2.1.4. Now we need to establish the communication between the two servers. How we can do that with the help of VNet peering. So go to the VNet. Under VNet, you will have the peering option. Add. Here you can say remote virtual network summary. Remote means from VNet 1, we are trying to communicate with VNet 2. So for VNet 1, remote is VNet 2. So what is the peering link? I will give like VNet 2 to VNet 1. So it is a remote connection. And the virtual network peering type is virtual network, and the virtual network is VNet 2. So from VNet 2, that is the remote network for my local network. Local network is Azure B1 VNet. So to this Azure B1 Demo 2 is the remote network. So allow Azure B1 Demo 2 to access Azure B1 VNet. So this is the routing. And as well as allow Azure B1 Demo 2 to receive the traffic from Azure B1 VNet. Okay, this is also required. So we'll discuss about these two in the next session. Now, peering link. What is our local virtual network? So the local virtual network is VNet 1 to VNet 2 peer. So this is our local network. So remote network is VNet 2 to VNet 1, and local network is VNet 1 to VNet 2. And then uh, Azure B1 network to receive the traffic from Azure B1 Demo 2. Okay, this is good. See that? Azure B1 network to access Azure B1 Demo 2 and Azure B1 VNet to receive the traffic from Azure B1 Demo 2. Okay, and add it. So once you have added here, then what will happen? Here the communication will not establish, but in Windows, what is going to happen means, look at here, ping 10.1.1.4 minus T. Hmm. There you go. I am getting the reply from that Linux server. But in the Linux server, we are not getting the response. Why? Even though one thing, the communication is established between the two virtual networks. The main point is because of the internal firewall. So here in Windows, we have a concept called as firewall. This firewall is blocking that particular ICMP traffic. There you go. So it is, I'm just turning off this. It's not a recommended practice to turn off this, but for your demo, I'm turning it off. Okay, here you can go to the advanced setting. In the advanced setting, you have to allow the traffic to enter into the server. Okay, but that's okay. Here you can write an inbound rule. So I can allow new rule. Okay, I mean, in the company environment, how you have to write things, you have to select a new rule and port rule. Next, or else here you can go with custom rule also. There will be ICMP protocol will be there. All programs, any protocol. Okay, or else you can go with ICMP v4 only. ICMP v4. Next, what is the local? Any IP. What is the remote? Any IP. Next, allow the connection. Next, next, and it is allow ICMP. So ping messages are the ICMP protocol messages. Finish it. So once you have finished it, then what you can do here is, here if you turn on the firewall also, you will be able to get the response. As we have allowed the ICMP protocol. So if you see here, when I turn on the uh, firewall also, because I have allowed the ICMP, I am able to get the response from the server. Okay. So this is how we can create the VNet peering. So one thing that you need to understand here is the terminology. What is the terminology? You need to understand what is the remote network and what is the local network. These two are very important. If you don't understand the local network and remote, local network means our virtual network. Remote network means opposite network. So that you need to understand. So this is called as peering connection. Okay. Any questions here? Any questions?
Mm, No, Chaitanya.
Hmm. Kamal, Amit?
No, sorry, I was on mute.
No.
Yeah. So we don't need to specify the different peering connections like in AWS. We don't need to specify it. In a single peering connection, we can establish the communication between the two VNets. So this is the peering connection. Tomorrow we will understand the hub and spoke architecture so that you can go with multiple configurations. Slowly you will understand. Tomorrow I will try to draw a diagram so that you can get a clarity like how we have gone with the peering. In the same manner, tomorrow also we will be going with a clear clarity diagram so that you will understand the hub and spoke architecture. So yes, that's it from mine. So I will go back to my what I can say resource group. So the main, I mean, I won't say it as a benefit. Sometimes it might be a benefit. Sometimes it might be a very blunder. So what does that means? If I go back to the resource group, in the resource group, simply what I can do, I can go for delete RG. Delete resource group means it is going to delete the VNets, virtual networks, whatnot, everything it is going to delete. So sometimes it is helpful. Why? Because at a time we can delete all the resources. But in the future, whenever we are working with the resource group, it might become a problem for us. What is the problem is because of the deletion of the resources, if any resource which I want is more important for me, that might get deleted. So sometimes it is a benefit, sometimes it is a drawback. Okay, so that's about your resource group. So that's about today's session. Tomorrow we'll discuss about the rest of the concept related to hub and spoke architecture, and then we will go ahead into the concept of NATing, endpoint configuration, VPN configuration. So many things are there that we have to discuss. We'll discuss everything in the next session.